Hello, survivors! I'm the SurvivalVis, and welcome to a little project that I've been mentioning for quite a while now, fully come to life in a way. So we're on Tier Maker with a bit of a different style of tier list. What I basically want to do was compare the three sort of large dinosaur hunting games that I've done on the channel, Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt, Prehistoric Hunt, and Hunter Primal, and see which one kind of rules out on top using a medal system. So the three colors we have are bronze, silver, and gold. If you want to tally it up, you could say like +1, +2, +3 for bronze to gold respectively. I figured I'd make up a few little subsections of each and kind of weigh all three together and then figure out which one is kind of the one that stands on top. Is there one that's really bad, or is there kind of like a decent mix to them? So we're in Tier Maker because I figured this was the best visual way of being able to really do it. And everything is kind of alphabetical, right from everything here to what we'll go through, and slowly we'll talk about each little thing as I sign stuff out. And with that out of the way, I think we're ready to begin. So, the first one, now granted this is a bit of an odd one to start with, but we're going to talk about atmosphere. Which game has the best atmosphere that really feels like it sucks you in and you are in the situation you're in? And normally I would do bronze to gold, but this one I think is hands down a gold to the Hunter Primal. It is the one that feels the most atmospheric, that pulls you really right into things. With how it drops you in, the setting and everything, it just really does feel like you get sucked into its atmosphere so much and so easily. Next one is going to be silver, and that's going to go to Dinosaur Hunt. There have been a few times in Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt where it feels like you can get into good hunts. Like, the most notable I have is right after the last update went out, I thought I had actually shot that one Stratosaurus, and I thought I was pulled into that experience of, I don't know where it is, and maybe it's going to be much more aggressive instead of the, heat-seeking it has. But, unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way. But I fooled myself into giving it a more atmospheric experience than it was. And is one thing I think that game could use to improve on is just kind of more things that feel less like they are in a game and more atmospheric and natural. Like that one, taking off the instant sensing of dinosaurs when they've been wounded. We saw that change in the trikes, but we didn't really see it to the carnivores at all. And then lastly, Prehistoric Hunt, it doesn't really suck you in. It doesn't feel like it has that atmosphere. It's lacking a bit for it. How they could improve that, I think, comes down a lot to the world around you in a way. Like, it's mostly, I think the dinosaurs don't pull you into the setting as much, and then the world doesn't even feel that alive either. Like, something about it just doesn't quite click as well as the other two. It's kind of hard to put a finger on, but it's probably because this ties into a lot of other aspects. This would be something that probably would have been better talked about in the list further down, but just because of doing this alphabetically, that's kind of where it's sat in. Next, we're going to move on to the next one, which is dinosaur appearance. So this is how do the dinosaurs look? Are they look good, look bad, etc.? And this one, Prehistoric Hunt, is going to get bronze again. The reason being, Prehistoric Hunt is still an early access and is showing that early access trait to it. When it first came out, the compies, the trikes, and the Yankees, I believe, were all pre-made assets that were used in other games. Like, I think those three specifically are, I've seen in Beast Battle Simulator. I think that was what it was called. And they did update the trike and the Yankee, I think, but the compy still needs some work, and yeah, there's some stuff there that could use a little bit more work there. Silver, I'm going to give Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt. They all do look pretty good. The only issue I have is I feel like the Stratosaurus color is a little too out there for the game. Like, everything else feels a little bit more toned and natural. The Parasaur, despite how bright and vibrant the colors look on it, it still feels kind of like a natural animal in a way, but just the bright red and black stripes of the Stratosaurus, I don't know, it doesn't feel quite right there. Something just doesn't kind of click as much or as well for that look. But the Hunter Primal, again, it's going to get gold in that category. The models look fantastic. Textures were great. They even had a few different variation of animal colors and coats to them. Yeah, I'm going to keep the dinosaur appearance. I was thinking there, because Prehistoric Hunt actually does have, rare skins on the animals. But I don't think they're anything that you can super tell from afar. And again, some of the models really need some work there. Dinosaur behavior. Prehistoric Hunt, you're not starting out the greatest. I'm going to be giving it a bronze, because again, this is more like, how do the dinosaurs move about the world? Do they interact with it? Or are they just like on these rail systems? And Prehistoric Hunt, we've seen with like going after a couple T-Rexes, that is the case, is that they do almost have certain species on rails that literally are right in step behind each other. That can be probably fleshed out a little bit more and expanded on there. And this might be a little bit of a controversial pick, but I'm going to give silver to theHunter Primal. The reason being, there doesn't seem to be much interaction between the dinosaurs themselves. Trikes don't really run from Rexes. Raptors don't run from Trikes. I don't think I've really ever seen them stop to, like, drink or even sleep. There's not really any behavior to them aside from they'll just roam about, and if something kind of triggers them to investigate, they'll do that, but that's about all. There's not really much behavior there. Which leaves Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt to actually get its first gold. Because this does include, the dinosaurs do actually go to sleep. They do go towards water sources to drink. There could still be some interaction behavior-wise where, like, say, maybe if you provoke a trike, instead of immediately charging you, it almost does like a territorial display, where if you actually, like, back off, it might not interact or it might not do anything. So I think that covers why Dinosaur Hunt has earned that gold. It actually has the dinosaurs feeling more alive with needs to meet, and they'll wander about to address such things. The kind of weird eating that the carnivores do is still a little bit odd, but I'd rather see something in there that doesn't quite make sense than just nothing at all. As weird as it sounds, it's almost like, say, maybe it's just eating something in a single bite. Like something like that, at least it has a behavior to it. Next up, we have Dinosaur Variety, and now this one I have a feeling might be a little divisive, but I gotta give bronze to theHunter Primal. When you really consider the options for it, you have the Velociraptor, the Utah Raptor, the Trikes, the Quetzalcoatlus, the T-Rex, and the Primal Rex. But when you really investigate the proper variety, you basically have two raptors, one is just super tiny and one's big, the Trikes, the Quetzal, and then two variations of the Rex. So that's only 4 dinosaurs. So this is more of a numbers game than anything, and yeah, that's just going to hold the 4 there. Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt is getting our silver, because that one has, I think it's 6 total. Oh, excuse me, of course that happens when I gotta do my first video for the day. It has the Stego, the Anki, the Trike, the Para, the Strato, and the Rex, so it does have 6. And surprisingly, this is where Prehistoric Hunt has earned its gold, because it has a very big variety, surprisingly enough, for the game. It has your Trikes, your Ankis, Raptors, Rex, Giga, Brachiosaur, Iguanodon. What was the other? Oh, the Pterodactyl. I don't think I mentioned the Pteranodon yet. And then, I can't remember if they added the Pachycephalosaurus or not yet. I think it was something coming, but I'm not entirely sure. And even the Compy, so that is 10. So yeah, dinosaur variety, even if they're not the best in looks or the best behavior-wise, there's a variety of things to hunt which can keep you going with it. The next one, again, this is going to be kind of a divisive one, but gameplay. How do they feel to play? How nice is it? How involved are you? This one, I'm going to give bronze to Prehistoric Hunt again, because it's not really the most in-depth of a game, really. It's basically just walk around, shoot the dinos, that's it. You could argue that's with any hunting game, and this might be a little bit interesting for some people, but I'm going to give the silver to theHunter Primal. Primal is a little bit more expanded on that because you don't have a loadout you can really go to. I admit I haven't really done the proper progression, but your gameplay is basically you drop in, there's one animal you can handle, which is the Velociraptors, and you have to stumble across the map hoping for RNG to bless you to then have things deal with other animals. It's not really a great gameplay loop for how it is. You can get by with it and you can expand and grow, but it's not really a dinosaur hunter at that point. It's more like that weird survival-esque thing, which I still don't think really helped Primal out with its case. Which lets Dinosaur Hunt take the gold for gameplay. Because this one does involve you in, like, gold, and it does give you options to do. Like, look at how we were able to keep that series going for 45 episodes, and we learned some neat tricks. If you want to try hunting Rexes, you can try baiting them. Carnivores, you can bait out with other animals. The herbivores, are kind of stupid a little bit because of how easy they are to take down sometimes, but you can use things around the map that makes it feel like there is more depth to it to do. So, with that, moving on, we come to the map, or, well, maps, because of Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt there. And again, Prehistoric Hunt, you gotta try to step it up a bit. There were a lot of parts of it where when I was playing, there was just, I called it big empties, where it was just like nothing really happening around the map or through a long stretch of it. And that's something you want to try to avoid. Even if it's something like nothing animal-wise, some sights to see, some really cool landmarks or things like that, but it doesn't really have anything on offer there. Stepping up, we're going... come over here. We're going to give silver to the Hunter Primal for its map. It is just the one, and it is a massive one, but it doesn't feel like there's that much, like, key to the map aside from the little bases almost to go between. None of the biomes super restrict what you'll find in them. Like, raptors, rexes, trikes, they seem generally like anywhere you can kind of come across them. I haven't found anywhere particularly that there's like a certain biome you'll find one thing more than the other. Maybe the pteranodons you'll only find over like plains, and the rexes are more to like plain areas or meadows or open areas, but again, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of biome diversity or change to the map. It's a lot of just the same tropical jungle spread over a very large surface area. Which does, again, give gold to Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt. The fact that it's the 3 different maps, and there are 3 different biome types per, I'm not going to include the weather effects because it's not really that much. And honestly, the weather is much better done by Primal. But because it is 3 different maps that feel like 3 different biomes, might be the same dinosaurs on them, but they're very different for looks and layout, I'm going to give gold to Dinosaur Hunt just because this one was a little bit more quantity over quality. It doesn't quite look as nice as the Hunter Primals did, but it just still feels like if you want to change a pace, you get it with Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt going to a different map compared to Primal. You're just kind of stuck with that same big map the entire thing. The next one is going to be Progression, and this is one... It's a little skewed here because I haven't actually played the proper progression of Primal as it was last put in, but I still feel like it's probably got the worst of them. When you first drop in, you can only really handle Velociraptors. You might get lucky with the bow to get a Utah, but you probably are only going to get, at best, one of them. And the Utahs don't really travel alone very often, so... Because you're so dependent on going to each spot on the map and hoping RNG is there to give you some loot to let you start advancing more in progress, it's not something you can really handle yourself to do. That's why I gotta give it just the bronze right now. It's not really up there for how smooth progression feels or how easy... I shouldn't even say how easy it is, but how do you feel you can progress well with what's there? It feels like it's a little RNG dependent for my taste, but maybe some people do enjoy it. Silver, I'm going to give to Prehistoric Hunt. I do really like the contract system, but I have a feeling like it doesn't really earn enough payout for it. It feels like it's a real slog to get the first weapon opened up, and then you start getting some more reliable progression, but until that point, it does feel slow and dragging, and it can take some time to actually get going and start yourself off with. You'll probably have to hunt down quite a few things in order to get that, and even the contract system itself could use some development. You can have more than just one herbivore and one carnivore contract. It's really at the point, don't take a contract unless you know you can actually go and fulfill it, because otherwise it's just going to be a dead contract you'll take on. And once again, that leaves us to give the gold to Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt. I really like one feature of it where you can take a lot of modifiers to make the hunt easier, but in doing so, it's going to slow down how quickly you go through the game. It's almost like this, it will teach you slowly, and then as you start getting more comfortable, you can take off a modifier, and that'll let you make bigger steps through it. It's more reliable that you can just go out, even if it's like a small hunt, you can still feel you get some coins in, or some currency in, and then you're unlocking new stuff, or you can try something different. The progression was actually, really to my liking. Because you did feel you were making progress kind of constantly there. Maybe not constantly, but it wasn't these RNG bounds you had to leap, or you were completely dampened by a contract or something. You could choose how you want to progress and just slowly keep going up through it like that. I really liked how they did progression in Dinosaur Hunt. Next up, we're going to come to sounds, and this one, I'm actually giving bronze to Dinosaur Hunt. The reason being, Dinosaur Hunt is actually a very quiet game when you're out and playing. You don't have the dinosaurs making a lot of sounds, and you have to be kind of close to hear them make the sounds. Another issue, I know the phantom sounds were a thing more before the last update, but I feel like they were still there. Like, it was still something you would run into, and you would encounter these phantom sounds of dinosaur runs off, but you still have the eating sound of where they were. Another thing, too, is a lot of the animals all have the same audio files, or they don't feel or sound that different from each other. It's just a lot of the same sounds constantly going out. So that doesn't really feel like it has a good sound system to it. That's something that the game does need to flesh out a little bit. Silver goes to Prehistoric Hunt. The reason being for this one is you actually can hear distinct animal calls and start familiarizing this sound is from this species. You can hear trike calls that you start understanding and are from trikes. You can hear the ankylosaur, the raptors. You hear these sounds, and if you go towards the direction you heard them, you can find what made them. Very good sound design in that regard. I do think at times they need to have almost like a volume difference to distance. Like, when they're close, you hear them very loud, but when they're far away, they should sound more faint. They don't really do that right now, but if that can be figured out, that is a very good sound system in place for a hunting game. And that does leave Primal to take the gold for sounds, because everything sounds a little bit more unique to its calls. You really get, like, when the Rexes roar, you actually have that loud roar, and if you're close enough, a little rumble from that. It just is fantastic sound design. Everything has more unique sounds to it. The Raptor the Velociraptor and the Utah Raptor, I think, have a little bit of tone difference. I think you can actually tell those two apart, and they're not like just the same raptor calls over again, which again really goes into favor of it. And now we get into tracking, which is going to be an interesting one. I do have to give bronze to Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt. It does have a tracking system of sorts, but it's mostly either a modifier you have to put on, which I think actually has a fairly large score impact, or you have to be kind of hopeful that the track decals, I'm going to call them decals because they are kind of like footprints that go down, those have to be kind of working properly for you. There are times when we've gone on hunts where you can actually see where a footprint is, but there's nothing that would have been in the area to make it, and just almost feels like completely out of place. Tracking can be better for Dinosaur Hunt. It did get some improvements with the lethal mode that was introduced for the game. So basically that one is, if you shoot a dinosaur, you have bloody footprints and blood left behind, which does make tracking much easier. The problem is, it's only for that mode, and you're not really trying to shoot an animal to make it easier to track. You're trying to take it down, so tracking is something that could use a little bit of tweaking and improvement there. However, this is probably where you're going to get a little bit of shake-up, and I might have a lot of people kind of biting at me a little bit. I'm giving silver to the Hunter Primal for tracking. The reason being is it relies on the Hunter's tracking system, and the node system can both be good and bad. I've even encountered when I was playing Primal, where if I was trying to go after a raptor, you kind of rely a lot on the cone of travel for what direction it can go, but the animals can easily take hard turns completely out of it. So you don't know exactly what direction some things can run off to. Even in the Hunter Classic, I've had that problem where I try to follow a track and it's not in the cone of travel, so we have to go a ways out of it, and then we find it again, and it had taken a hard turn. It's something that it could use some more improvements to feel more gameplay friendly. Like, realistic-wise, it is the best, but we're not exactly trying to play a realistic simulation in a way. Even then, though, for realistic simulation, there is a tracking system I'll talk about in a little bit, but it still feels like it kind of lacks a bit. I still feel like if you're going to do a node system, you almost have to have it. If there's a certain angle of turn for movement, you need to have another node drop immediately there, so that way it's better followed. And that actually gives gold, surprisingly, to Prehistoric Hunt. My reason being is because when you go onto a track, you can actually go within visual range of the two to kind of keep seeing where it's been going. Hard turns, you don't get lost on them that easily. I do admit sort of the minute system or the time system can, well, actually, maybe the time system's not that bad, because now that I think about it in comparison to the Hunter, they both kind of have their own time systems for keeping track of stuff. I know for the Hunter Primal, you have the cone of travel and then the radius that will solid up when you're closer to it, so the time system was the one issue I sort of have Prehistoric Hunt, but my big thing is, it's much easier and reliable to follow along with that and keep going to use just the tracks to get something down. There's not really, you're going to get lost by hard turns, you're not really going to lose the tracks too often. It can use a little bit more diversity of, like, maybe droppings, or there's been a carcass it was eating at or something, or plant it was eating at. It could use some variety there, but for the sake of which tracking system is the best of these three, I'm going to give it Prehistoric Hunt because it's the one you're less likely to lose something on. I don't think they actually have a great tracking system across all three games, and the game that I actually would suggest them trying to get a tracking system from is Red Dead Redemption 2. I'll probably actually try to have gameplay of it. How it works is you almost have like an investigation mode. So when you toggle that on, you can actually see little trails of where the animals have been and what directions they were going. And if you approach one, you can press a button that will almost like save this track. And for a limited amount of time, you'll see the track get highlighted in gold along the ground of where the animal went to. It doesn't tell you anything like how long ago it was there, but it does give you this way of knowing exactly what travel or what path of travel it was going. And with that limited time going, that continually shrinks down, so you have to refresh the mode, and that'll refresh your track thing up. I could see this mixing with like the Hunter's system where it's nodes, so you find a node, and then you can toggle a little mode and you can see the path of travel, so that way if there is a hard turn, if there is a hard turn, you can see that all of a sudden it starts veering that way, so you can follow that, and you go node from node, and the nodes give you your timing difference, whereas the little path between is just so that way it's easier for you to track along and keep kind of behind them and don't lose the track to them. That would be probably the ideal system I'd see done, and I could see that also being a way almost like it, maybe a little easier system-wise to keep in a game, because if it's trying to track so many different trails all the time, I could see that overwhelming the game and giving some issues there. But if it's only trying to track like from one node per time, and then showing the route to the next node, maybe it kind of isn't as much resources-wise to do that tracking system. So yeah, surprisingly enough, Prehistoric Hunt has gotten that for gold. And now we're into another bit of an interesting one, the weapons. Dinosaur Hunt, I'm afraid you only have the 3 weapons. Well, okay, maybe 4 if you want to count the revolver, but still, it's not really that big of a loadout weapon-wise to go and use. Like, they do play a little differently from each other. Rifle is more your short, or your close-range basic starting weapon, which is still very good start to a hunting game. Your crossbow feels a lot more powerful than it really should for being what it is, because even if you don't get the critical shots in some dinosaurs, it seems to drop them almost like single shot at times. I would really change that to only with a critical shot is it as powerful as it is. If it's not, it doesn't really have that much punch to it. And the sniper rifle, it's a sniper. You kind of understand that there. This placement was kind of hard, because on the one hand, I've gotten to play more with the Hunter Primals to see out the weapon loadout, but I haven't really done that for Prehistoric Hunt. But Prehistoric Hunt, you more reliably can get the more weapon roster than you can Primal. So this is one where I'm kind of debating back and forth of who would get what here. But I think just for the sake of better variety, I'm going to give gold to the Hunter Primal and silver to Prehistoric Hunt. Prehistoric Hunt, I think if the progression system was a bit better, and I know they actually are looking at adding more weapons, I would maybe bump that up in gold because it's easier to get them, and they do feel impactful in the game. When you go from the starter rifle to the hunting rifle, I think it's called, you feel you're taking down the animals a lot better. You have more power to you to go after things. However, it still is, I'm trying to remember everything, because it does still have a nice variety, because it has your starting rifle, your starting pistol, revolver, shotgun, rifle, tranquilizer, crossbow, sniper rifle. It does have a fair variety to it, but I think the Hunter Primal just has a larger weapon base to go off of and use, and includes a lot of varying degrees of weapons. It has machete, it has the tactical axe, it has the shotguns, dueling gun, marksman rifle, anti-personnel rifle, the 700 caliber. It has a lot of stuff to it that really does expand it. It might not be easy to get, but that falls more into what I would consider progression-wise than the weapons themselves. So I think that is actually a fair place to kind of say where I would rank things for the 3 games. And if we do a little count of what each has, 2, 4, 7, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21 for the first one. I don't really have a way to track that. You know, give me a moment, I'm just going to write that down because we'll compare and see. So Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt is starting us off at the top with 21. There we go, pen's working. Prehistoric Hunt is probably going to be our lowest of them. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15, 17, not too bad. And then the Hunter Primal, 3, 6, 8, 9, 11, 13, 14, 17, 19, 21. So yeah, out of the possible, I believe it's 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, out of possible 30, we actually have a tie between Dinosaur Hunt and the Hunter Primal at 21 out of 30. Again, for where the Hunter Primal, when it does have some poor stuff, it is pretty poor, but when it's right, it's done so right. Like, the dinosaur appearances, the sounds, the weapon. When it does right, it does do pretty good. Same with Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt as well. When it's bad, like the sounds, the tracking, the weapon variety, it can be pretty low. But then when it does do good, like maps, the progression, the behavior to even have, like they'll sleep at times, they'll go to drink. There are some areas where this can pick up, but the one that I kind of feel has the most room to grow is definitely going to be Prehistoric Hunt. Primal, it's kind of dead right now. I could sort of see maybe the Hunter Classic picking up and making a dedicated reserve to going after dinosaurs. And if they do that, I think that could well take the crown of sorts. But for right now, we are just going off of what the Hunter Primal was, and it did have its flaws that really, in my opinion, dragged it down. For Prehistoric Hunt, I think the big things are definitely to work on the dinosaur appearance and behavior more. If you get them doing more stuff like less feeling that they're on these rails, they interact with each other more, they actually stop to sleep or eat or drink or things like that, and actually make them feel more like living animals, it can improve from that point on. Gameplay and progression-wise, again, if those can be like taken along, and that you actually have the contracts are a little bit smoother to go through. Gameplay-wise, there's more hunting elements to actually be hiding into cover, to call stuff into you, to do some things like that. I think Prehistoric Hunt is the one I could see improving the most out of them, if there is the time and dedication put into it. But for right now, the game I'd probably recommend if you're looking for a dinosaur hunting game is Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt. It is a bit of a re-release of HD, Reborn, probably some other names for it as well, but as it stands right now, the most legal and reliable one to get, because you could technically go to a few key sites to try to get the Hunter Primal. I wouldn't condone it, because those sites can be kind of shady and scummy. If you really want to, you can gamble on it and see, but I say reliably, if you are looking for a Dinosaur Hunter game, Carnivores Dinosaur Hunt is the one right now that kind of is at the peak of things. It still has room for improvement, but all in all package, it will probably keep you going for a while, and might keep you happy till you kind of reach the end of content. And then we might even see more updates and stuff in the future for it. With that, though, I think we've actually brought the tier list to an end. I'm surprised it actually was this long of an episode to do, but I felt like it was enough time to really address and give folks to what all is like here on comparison. I don't think I'd change anything around from what I have, but I will leave a link down in the description if you guys want to play around with this and compare and think. Just so that way you guys might have your own ideas and things as well. I'm sure there might be some people who really enjoyed the gameplay of Primal and would put that gold over Dinosaur Hunt. Sounds maybe different thing there, progression-wise. This was, again, just opinion piece, and if you guys do have different opinions, do let me know in the comments below. Discussions like this are really good, and if there's enough, consensus and build-up of what might make a good game, maybe we'll see these in certain ones. Like, maybe Dinosaur Hunt will take some into opinion, or even Prehistoric Hunt. Again, it's just, try this out, see what it was, and see what you guys thought of it as well. Thank you guys for joining me on this video, and I am going to end things here. Please remember, thank you again for joining me. If you did enjoy the video, give us a like. Comments, tips, or tricks, be sure to leave them in the comments right down below. I think these are the big dinosaur hunting games. If there is one I've missed, do let me know in the comments, because I can always try and check that out, but I think we're good to wrap things up here. So until I do see you in the next video or episode, survivors, please remember, as always, to take care and stay alive.